So, hey, good friends, this is Will Zant, minister at Haygood, and I'm here with some special friends. I'm here with Lisa and Jared Racine, and this is our next episode of Hang On, Hang In, Haygood. So welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys. It's so well polished, well produced. We're glad to have you. But the real purpose of this segment each week is just to help people know that they're not crazy. They're going through the same stuff that everybody else is. So I wanted to hear from you guys and just welcome you. You guys joined Haygood back in January. And then as soon as you joined, we had a pandemic. So there you go. I know those are disconnected altogether. But anyway, welcome. So glad to have you. Yeah. Couple things we just want to ask you. I just want to ask you, how are you hanging on? That's the first part of this segment. How are you hanging on in the midst of a pandemic? How have y'all been hanging on the last several months?
Yeah, I think a couple of different ways. Probably good to start with our situation. So we are a dual working parent household. We have a young daughter who's 3 years old, Vivian, and a son who's 18 months old, Theo. So they've certainly helped us with the hang on part, but we've both been lucky enough to, we're still working pretty demanding jobs and demanding hours. And it's been certainly hard to balance those kids being at home and our jobs in an effective way. But like finding ways, I think, for personal care for sure. I mean, I'm not spending 2.5 hours plus in traffic every day. So I've been able to carve out some time in the mornings to run, and that has been therapeutic for me for sure. I think spending time with our kids, like we can have an actual breakfast with them every morning and talk with them and get the day kicked off has been something we've definitely used. I think also, the news has been tough, like whatever way you look at it the last several months. So finding some outlets to separate ourselves from that too. On occasion, doing puzzles. We completed a 1,500 piece puzzle that actually turned into a 1,499 piece puzzle. We're missing that last one, and I have no idea where it is.
No suspects out there. The cat.
Yeah, we got one or two.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I think hanging on, it's been great to take advantage of being home and being in a comfortable environment. I think obviously trying to balance work, you've got to be a little bit more transparent with the folks you're interacting with. And so conference calls have become a lot more engaging, not just with you, but your family. And so the responses have been all over the board. Some of them you get, a kid screaming in the background, and one of the responses from your coworkers might be, glad it's not my kids. Otherwise, you might get a response that says, it's great to see so much energy in your house. So, you get it all over the board, but it's helpful, and I think it brings it closer together.
Yeah.
So is that is that a compliment? Like, great to see so much energy around the house.
I think you could take it whatever way you want to take
it. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, and you got your cat there with you, right? Too, right? Is your cat still there?
Coltrane's joining the call.
Oh
He is not enjoying us being home 100% of the time.
Sure. That's one of the interesting things, though. We get to see people's personal lives in ways we never got to see before. That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, it's cool. A lot of people on our teams that we talk with every day, or normally would spend 8 hours a day with. I mean, I know their kids by name and by face now, which is cool.
Yeah, we haven't seen my kid come in yet because we're filming this at night. I'm sure in just a moment they'll find their way down here. So good stuff. Well, how would you encourage people to hang in at this point? I mean, we've been at this for over 3 months now. So how would you encourage people to hang in?
I think for Jared and I think a turning point whenever, and it probably took us longer than most people to realize that normal wasn't ever going to be normal again. And to just kind of start thinking about how to incorporate this lifestyle into more longer term planning. And so instead of being stressed out about childcare or groceries or whatever week to week, creating just a longer term plan we could, go back to and rely on has been helpful. We're in the midst of, I think I mentioned before, but we're in the midst of trying to figure out what that long-term childcare plan looks like. So it's brought with it its own its own challenges to think through and weigh risks and benefits for what happens with our kids. I think hanging in there too has been trying to find the positives about what's changed with life.
Yeah.
I mentioned being able to, exercise and work out or run. And I think spending time with our kids and just looking forward to whenever life is maybe a little more normal or at least consistent, making sure that we can maintain those positive things that have changed, those positive changes that have happened.
Absolutely. I've joked around with people, when we have a vaccine, we're throwing a vaccine party. I mean, I just can't wait.
Yeah.
I just can't wait. Well, talk to me a little bit maybe about how y'all been able to, just share time together. I mean, when do y'all find time just to be present for one another? Because I know a lot of couples out there, they're finding that they're exhausted. They're finding that you can't really, it's not easy to like go out on a date or like go for a walk, especially when you have kids. So what have y'all done to just be present for one another? Or have you? I mean, a lot of people have said, ask other couples.
It's become more challenging. Yeah, we used to enjoy the nights out where we could leave the kids with a grandparent and go out to dinner. Those are non-existent anymore. So it's really after the kids go down, we clean up the house, make sure we're ready for the next day.
Turn on some music and vacuum. Yeah. I don't know.
Whatever that 30 minutes an hour is. Try to make the most of it.
I'd say the emotional highs and lows that we go through on a day-to-day basis they've expanded. We've got a unique challenge though. Our 10-year wedding anniversary is July 17th. We are trying to figure out how to celebrate that.
Congratulations. Wow.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when y'all got married, did you ever think for your 10th, this is what you would be doing?
No. We had planned some trip away with the kid, without the kids, but we'll be with them.
We'll make the best of it. It'll be great.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, what do you miss about Haygood? Moving on to our last question. What do you miss about Haygood? Y'all are relatively new to the church. What's one or two things you might miss about the church?
I think for me, it was a nice kind of hour in the middle of the day where Lisa and I got to spend some time together, be a little bit more introspective. Kids were in the nursery for the time being. Mm-hmm. So it was a nice kind of starting point to our Sunday, as well as the social interaction before, after service, during service were appropriate. And it was good to connect not only with our peers, but see our kids connect with their peers. Very, very often we'd get stories from Vivian after nursery class on what happened or what Theo got into and he shouldn't have. So those kind of, that time and those stories we're missing finally.
I'd also say that the daily rhythm for people who have children, or if you don't, you get into a rhythm. And I think on Sundays, I really looked forward to the social aspect, the time away from our kids, doing other things and being, separated from them and then coming back together. It helped us kind of slow down on a Sunday and depart from that norm too. Yeah.
I'd say if we had to put on our 3-year-old's hat, it'd probably be the brownies and donuts, but
that's real life. I mean,
yeah.
I told my daughter Katie that at some point we'll be going back to church. She said, and we'll get Mr. Wally's brownies. I mean, nothing about the preaching, nothing about anything else. She remembered brownies. Exactly.
No, I'd say too, well, I mean, it's beyond just the Sunday rhythm. I think it's like right before this all happened, you hosted the Frozen 2 movie night, which was so cool. I got to bring Vivian there and she really loved it. And it was neat to see so many other kids and families, like even just the community aspect of Haygood. Having attended that, I was so excited about being a part of the church and what was to come with that regard. So certainly something we miss.
Yeah. It makes me think too about the importance, you said this earlier, I think, Jared, the importance of like Sunday helps you slow down. And I think about that. It helps you get off of like our own kind of regular time and get on God's time just for a moment. That's good. And then Lisa, I guess when you talked about the community aspect of being a part of something kind of bigger, it was Frozen movie night, but that's part of like what church is about. It's not. It's about this. John Wesley, the kind of founder of the Methodist Church, one of the things he used to say is that there's a social component to the faith. Like it's not about trying to make this a show, but there's a social component, and there's the community, there's the congregation, there's the connectedness that we miss, the feeling that people know us, and that is something I think we all miss, is being known, because you see people, and you're around them. And I certainly am starving for that myself.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, great stuff. Great stuff. Is there any last bit of sage wisdom you would offer people out there? You guys are experts at this now. 10 years of marriage. I mean, you guys are experts.
Oh God, yeah, we are still learning every single day, but trying to find the positives, I think, and. I think a positive, one of the things that we were kind of reflecting on too was some of the, even outside of Haygood, but social connections of people that we normally might see in person once a year, through things like Marco Polo or some of the group texts and group chats or Zoom. There are a lot of friends that we've been able to keep in more consistent touch with. Being transplants to Atlanta, that's been a really cool thing. That's come out of this too. So I guess sage wisdom is, take some of this extra time to connect in unconventional ways.
Right. So how long have y'all been in Atlanta? Remind me again. How long have y'all been in here?
It'll be
6 years.
6 years in September.
Gotcha. All right. My Polo. Is this an app that I don't know about? What is Marco Polo?
Well, yeah, it's great. It's like a video text messaging app. So some of my girlfriends that live in Chicago or New York can, have kids. It's been really hard to coordinate a specific time for us to all talk. So instead we leave video messages for one another through Marco Polo. So like every night I sit down on the couch with with my cat, and once the kids are in bed, and I listen to my friends talk to me. It's been great though. It has been a really nice way to keep in touch and see their faces.
Jared, is this your app? Do you use this app as well, or do you have your own?
I don't have a lot of experience. No, I still rely on the normal text messages.
Yeah, I'm learning new things every time I do these segments. So thank y'all for teaching me something new. Marco Polo.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed seeing your family. Enjoyed hearing about your cat and the trials, the tribulations. But we're going to get through this, and thank y'all for helping other people out to know that they're not alone.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, that's it for this segment of Hang On, Hang In, Haygood with the Racines. Thank y'all for being here today.
Bye.
Thank you. I will.
Bye.